Are you considering going to Mexico or anywhere else where it's warmer than where you are living now? And perhaps you're considering going for a few months? Well, these tips will surely help you. I'll talk about very practical things such as what to bring, what not to bring, about your telephone, about banking, and other useful tips. Welcome to my channel. My name is Linda G. Robert. I'm your Back in the Groove Again coach, helping you live your best life now so you can love what you do. If you're here, it's because you do want to love your life more. I'm leaving for Mexico next week, and I thought I'd share a few tips with you to help you with your planning, especially if you've never traveled away before or for even a long time. A lot of us have been on resorts before, but I'm going to be sharing you some tips, especially if you want to stay for longer than just a week. Now, this is my third year in Mexico. The first time I stayed for 3 months, last year for 4 months, and this year I'm actually staying for 3.5 months, so until the end of April. So let's get started with the tips. So let's start with your car. I personally don't drive to Mexico, so I'm going to leave my car here. Last year, I left it parked behind a friend's business. This year, I'm going to leave it parked where I live. So if you're driving to Mexico, make sure that you know where you're going, first of all. You can also contact CAA for some maps as well. But also, you want to make sure that you're able to park your car where you're going to be living. And this, of course, depends on exactly where you're living. Sometimes there are parking spaces available, and sometimes there's not. So my tip for you is to contact your landlord to find out if there's room to park. Now, I'm leaving my car here where I'm living. Last year, I contacted the insurance company to tell them that I was going away for a few months, and they sent me a form to complete. I completed that form with the specific details of when I was leaving and when I was planning on coming back, and I continued to pay my monthly premiums. I thought at first, well, maybe I wouldn't have to pay my monthly premiums, but they did come out of my account every month. However, at the end, when I came back and I notified them that I was back, of course, I had to contact them to let them know. I got a reimbursement check. So that was really, really cool. So definitely you want to contact your insurance company to find out a little bit more about what they're suggesting. In my case, it was easier to park it somewhere where it was going to be safe. And I did leave the fire and theft on it as well. But because I wasn't driving it and so on, they gave me a reimbursement for that as well. So check it out with your insurance company. Tip number 2 is to confirm with the landlord when you're coming down and, of course, the specific time. So I went to Mexico 3 years ago, and I chose Mexico because I had a friend who lived there, who still lives there, in fact. And when I asked her, where can I find a place to stay, she actually recommended a property manager. Now, I did contact that property manager 3 years ago through WhatsApp, which is often, very, very common app that a lot of people use now. And she sent me a few pictures of places, and I agreed to one. And that's what I ended up by doing 3 years ago. Now, last year, I got a different name. I got a different property manager name, and I did the same thing. I contacted that property manager through WhatsApp, sent me a few pictures, and voila, I stayed at that place. However, something happened last year that I wasn't expecting. About a few days after I got there, the landlady who speaks Spanish, because I did go to Mexico, was at the reception. Bottom line is that the property manager did not pay her the deposits that I had given. So note to self, right? You want to make sure that the money is actually given to the landlord. But what we agreed to do is I would continue to make the payments to her account. She is the one that owns the condo, so I continue to make the payments directly into her account. She gave me a copy of her banking card, and I knew exactly what I needed to do. Of course, I speak a little bit of Spanish, not a lot, but I walked or took the bus to the bank and I deposited the money directly into her account, which was really, really helpful. So, before you leave, you want to confirm with the landlord that you are coming down, that it's still available because, you never know. So I kept in touch with the landlord over the last several months. I confirmed with her that I was able to get the apartment between mid-January till the end of April. And in fact, I changed my mind a few times. So I did communicate with her to make sure that my changes were okay with her. And then I sent her money. Now, in this case, I sent her money through Western Union. And I needed to have very specific details, including the correct spelling of her name, the banking information. So this is information that you will need to have before you set up Western Union in this case. My landlady didn't have PayPal, and it was just easier for me to do it this way. I could have also gone through my bank, and that would have cost a little bit more. So these are things to keep in mind. You want to check out how can you pay. I wasn't able to give her an e-transfer, so I had to think of alternatives. Western Union worked really good for me. And then I confirmed with her that she had received the money. That was as a deposit. Now, once I get to Mexico, I'll be able to go to her bank and make the payments from there. Now, in this case, my apartment is this year it's going to be 9,500 Mexican pesos, which is about, and don't quote me on this, a little bit over $600. And that included cable, but it didn't include the lights. So you want to make sure too that when you do confirm with your landlord the accommodations, you want to find out what's in the apartment. You want to find out what it includes. In the case of my landlord, she did get me to sign a contract. And once I arrived to the apartment last year, I noticed that there wasn't a coffee machine, there wasn't a blender, and I thought there was one when I saw the pictures. Now, I asked her for this, and she purchased it for me, which was really, really nice. So these are things you want to keep in mind. In my case, it is a furnished apartment, but it doesn't mean that there's everything there that I need. So I have to make some type of adjustments. The bottom line is that you need to confirm with the landlord those types of details. And one great way of doing that is through WhatsApp. You want to confirm what it includes, what it doesn't include. You want to confirm what is available in that particular apartment. I have plates, I have, utensils and all that stuff, but I don't have all the pots and pans that I need. And so those are things that I found out once I got there. Yeah, I can purchase it, but I decided to just make changes and adapt my cooking to that. In fact, the food is so cheap that I eat out a lot as well. So those are things to keep in mind, especially when you're making arrangements with your landlord. Okay, let's talk about what to bring and what not to bring. The first time I went, I really overpacked. I brought way too many things. Now, last year, I overpacked again, but didn't bring as much as the year before. So my tip is to bring the essentials only. And of course, it's hard for me to tell you what the essentials are. So I'll give you a couple of examples of what I'm going to be bringing. This year, I'll bring a couple of pairs of shorts. I'm going to be bringing about 3 pairs of capris, a couple of light tops, maybe 3 or 4 light tops. I'm going to be bringing some toiletries, but not a lot. So I'm going to be bringing some small bottles of shampoo. I'm going to bring a small tube. In fact, we only can bring small containers with us. So a small container of toothpaste, because the bottom line is that you can purchase the rest when you're there. Again, I'm talking about if you're going away for a few months. I'm going to be going till the end of April. So I will definitely need to purchase some soap. For example, when I get there, I might need to buy more shampoo for example, when I get there. So when it comes to toiletries, just bring a few things that you think you might need for the duration of the time. Otherwise, you can buy it there. It's really, really well developed, where I'm going, so I'm not overly concerned about running out of things. Now, one thing that I want to share with you this year, I'm bringing a coffee grinder, not because I can't grind my coffee there, but I will be buying coffee beans. I like fresh coffee. So I'll be buying coffee beans from the grocery store, but I'm going to be grinding them, from my apartment. So I'm going to bring just a small coffee grinder. And the other thing that I'm bringing this year that I didn't last year is tea. Now I purchased herbal tea. The reason I'm saying tea is because I bought tea last year and I really didn't like it. I found the tea bags were really empty and not very tasty. So I decided this year that I'm going to be buying some tea. Now, last year, when I was walking on the beach, I noticed that a lot of people have these really low lawn chairs. And I thought, I got to get one. I want to get one, especially because, I'm going to be there for a few months. So this year, what I've decided to do is order a lawn chair, but via the Mexico Amazon. So I've ordered it. I created a Mexican Amazon account. I have a Canadian one, but I created a Mexican one, and I ordered that lawn chair. And because I have a friend that lives there, it's delivered. He's already received it, and so, good to go. So you want to keep that in mind, that you might be able to purchase things from the Amazon website now while you're still in Canada, because when I was in Mexico, I tried to do that last year and it didn't really work. It would have cost me a lot more money for the not just the currency exchange, but the border as well. The other thing that I want to share with you is to not pack that much in your suitcase because you will more than likely want to buy some souvenirs. Last year, right at the last minute, I bought myself a very large quilt. Now, I didn't think it was going to be that large, but it ended up by being a really big quilt, and I didn't have enough room in my suitcase to put it in. So what did I have to do? Well, I had to get rid of things. I had to leave things behind. I definitely wasn't going to leave my quilt behind. And so I had to leave things behind. I had to sort, what do I want to bring? What do I want to leave? I didn't care because I wanted to bring my quilt with me. So make sure that you do leave enough space in your suitcase to bring souvenirs or blankets or whatever it is that you want to bring home. Those are really good things to keep in mind. All right, let's talk a little bit about safety. Now, before I decided on where I was going, I made sure that the area was safe. How did I do that? Well, I knew a person that was there. I met her through teaching, and so I asked her. I checked online, but I was also cautious because sometimes the news says one thing, but the reality is something different. So due diligence when it comes to looking at the internet. Best to contact friends that you might know that live there, or join a few Facebook groups of where you're going to be going and ask them. They know the situation. So that's one thing that I want to share with you. The other thing too is you do want to let your family know, your kids, your friends, you choose where you're going, right? So you want to let them know the exact address as to where you're going, the flight itinerary, the flights that you're taking, the numbers of the flight, and so on. And you want to let them know the address, of course, the apartment number. I have now a Mexican phone number, so I have shared my phone number with them, the landlord's name, the phone numbers, and so on. So that's really, really important, especially if you're single. Somebody needs to know where you are going and where you will be. I'm not suggesting to let them know once you get there everything that you're doing. No, but you do want to keep in touch. Now, once I arrived to Mexico last year, what I did was I did show my friends the apartment. I created a video to show them the apartment. That way they had an idea of not only the apartment, but the neighborhood as well. It made them feel good. And if anything had happened to me, then they would have a better idea of where I was staying. So safety is really, really important, especially when you're single. You want to keep those tips in mind to share your information with a friend or two. Kids, if your kids are old enough, share that information with them. And they may say, "Oh, I don't really need to know." Believe me, your kids will want to know where you're going. Your friends want to know where you're going. So keep those things in mind as well when it comes to safety. The other thing too, when it comes to safety, is, I now don't go out in places that I'm not familiar with at night, especially. I am sure that if if I was to go in a dangerous area, first of all, I'd be able to tell. But the other thing too is people would have told me, because I do talk to my neighbors. I've gotten to know my neighbors, and they would tell me, don't go in this particular area. Now, even if you don't know your neighbors, I personally would prefer hanging out around where I am, especially at the very beginning, and then I might check out areas during the daytime, areas that are further away from where I live in the daytime, to be a little bit more familiar with the area, know about where the restaurants are, coffee shops are. In case I don't feel safe, I could easily go into a restaurant, a public area. But generally, and this is just for my own sake, I don't go out in areas at night that I'm not familiar with. I'm not that adventurous anymore. And besides, at night, I go home and I do my thing. Now, if I would go to a bar at night, I would go to a bar that I've gone during the day and that I've gone with a friend. And that way I'm more comfortable going there by myself if that's what I wanted to do. So, be cautious, be careful, but have a great time as well around where you live first. And then you might want to start venturing out in places that are a little bit further, but start during the day first. And then you might feel more comfortable going there at night. But let's not be overly adventurous, if that's and the other thing too. I know what I'm like when I drink alcohol, so I'm very cautious as well when it comes to how much I drink when I go to bars. I used to drink a lot more before. Now I don't. I'll just have a few drinks, and that way I'm level-headed. I'm in control. I know exactly what's going on. So that's another safety tip as well. All right, let's move on to the next tip. And the next tip concerns your telephone. Now, I've already checked with Kudo, my company, in terms of the what I could do. So I'm going to be putting my phone on pause, pay I think at $20 a month, and then once I get to Mexico, I will use a SIM card that I purchased last year. They're really, really cheap. I had heard that before, and I thought, well, maybe I don't want to do that. But guess what? I bought mine at a corner store. And in fact, no, I don't have it here. I've already put it away, but really easy to use. Now, I think that is the best bet, is to buy a SIM card, just change it on your phone. It's a lot less expensive, and it does come with an internet plan as well. And the one in Mexico, the one I used, also provides international calls for free, so I don't even have to pay long distance. Now, of course, you should let your friends know the new number. And of course, if they send you a text on your old number, you're not going to get it. So you have to let them know about, your new number. Now, the one thing that I found was problematic last year is when it comes to banking online. or anything that you're doing online. And the reason I'm saying that is because even at home now, where it gets tricky with the phone is now with these sites that require double authentication. They will send a text, perhaps, to your phone number, but the number they have on file. So for me, last year, which number did they have on file? Well, that was my Canadian number. They didn't have my Mexican number on file. So that was an issue. Let me explain what would happen. They would send a text to my Canadian number. And of course, I didn't receive it on my Mexican number. I had to change the SIM card really, really quickly so that I could receive that verification and then proceed with my banking or whatever I was doing. So that was a pain. That was a pain. So you want to at least change your number. You know, you might have to change your number on your banking. You might have to change your number on Windows. You might have to change your number. For example, I worked for a college, and there was an issue because when they did verify that, they noticed I was, logging on from Mexico, and they sent me the authentication thing. I had to change the SIM cards until I changed my number from Canadian number to Mexican number on their website, on the college's website. Now this year, I'm trying something a little bit different. I've already changed my numbers in Mexico. On those particular websites, I've already changed them, or I've added them already, which suggests that once I get there, the process should be a little bit easier. So these are things you want to keep in mind. Yes, you purchase your SIM card, great, it's a lot cheaper. Then you might run into some issues when it comes to this verification process that a lot of banks and a lot of other sites now do, especially when it's something that is secure, right? A secure website. So you probably will have to change your phone numbers or change SIM cards at some point fairly quickly so that you can accept that and then proceed with your process, your computer process. So that's one thing you want to keep in mind as well, using the SIM card, but changing your phone numbers if you think you're going to be running into a problem. Now, the last tip I want to share with you is concerning banking. So for me, it's a lot easy to use an ATM machine. And I don't bring that much money with me. Sure, I bring my pesos initially because I'm going to need the pesos at the airport in Mexico, for example, and I'll need pesos when it comes to taking a taxi from the airport to the condo. So I have enough money for that. But after that, because I'm going for 3.5 months, I'm going to need to do some banking. And so what I do recommend is for you to check which bank is available in the country where you're going. Now, I'm going to Mexico, and there is a Scotiabank there. Now, I have to be honest, I didn't have a Scotiabank account. Up until last year, I decided to open up a Scotiabank account specifically for that reason. So find out what banks are there. There are some banks that are international, but a lot of them aren't. You want to try to find one that is international, like the Scotiabank, for example, if you're in Canada. So opened up an account in Canada, and I know exactly now where the ATM machine is where I'm going. I did a quick search on the internet the first time, and it was easy to find. And then, of course, once I got there, I did another search. I was able to find exactly where it was. I walked there the first few times. Then I took the bus or the taxi there, and I was able to use my debit card. Now, Scotiabank in Canada gave me a debit Visa card. And when I go to the Scotiabank ATM machine, which is located in the Scotiabank, located where I'm going, I was able to use that card and, of course, withdraw some pesos, not Canadian money, of course, but pesos. And I found that really, really useful. So the tip is, of course, to find out before you leave. And you don't want to bring that much money with you, right? You'll need a few thousand pesos, but you won't need everything right away for the entire duration of your vacation or your stay. So find out which banks are available, and if need be, open up a new bank account in Canada before you get to where you're going so that you can easily use the ATM machine. Now, that's it for the tips for today. So stay tuned for more videos. If you want to follow my journey, if you want to follow along and see how I'm doing, like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, because the next few videos are going to be from Mexico. Have yourself a wonderful day. My name is Linda G. Robert. I am your Back in the Groove Again coach, and I'm here to help you live your best life right now. Bye-bye now.